Guys, everybody, we have an Emmy Award winner on the set right here. Okay?
Oh, well, it's not us.
That is correct.
I don't think most people care about that either.
No.
Oh, we care.
No. Ladies and gentlemen from ESPN from just next door, kind enough to stay after class after doing First Take, Ryan Clark. Great to see you, sir.
Let's get it.
How are you?
I'm excited. I've never had the actual Rich Eisen experience in person.
In person, that's right. We haven't had you in Los Angeles. You've zoomed in, but it's great to have you here, man. It's great to see you.
Absolutely.
How are you enjoying this?
I enjoy it. You know,
and obviously you got the pivot too. I mean, you're killing it.
Yeah,
you're really crushing it.
I think you start to realize like that you don't have total control over it.
Right.
Though, you know.
What do you mean?
So it's like everything else, right? Especially in my life, I've been in this fight to prove how good I am at something.
Sure.
Right? You go football, you're an undrafted free agent. And so you spend 13 years trying to prove to people that you can play. And even when you're at the height of it, you have to be consistent to say that I'm this good all the time. And I think when you get in this world as well, because it is subjective, right? Whether you win Emmys or you're nominated for Emmys or the numbers say that people enjoy you doing what you do, there are people in this business, in this building that make decisions on whether or not they want you on certain things at certain times.
Right.
And I think you always have to continue to do the work, put the work in, and also understand that ultimately you're not in control. And that's where the pivot comes in.
Damn straight it does. Like,
right.
Who you're talking with, right? I mean, like all of us together here, where we come to work and this is ours.
Yeah.
But I also, I go to NFL Network and that's ours in a way. You know what I mean? But sure, absolutely. Where you do what you do and you got the guests and you're with the guys that you want to be with.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think, and don't mistake it though, because I didn't put NFL Live together. I didn't put Monday Night Countdown together, but NFL Live became family. Where the other night, Kari Spears is playing in the SEC Volleyball Conference Championship, and we're on a group chat. I'm riding in the car. I got it on my phone.
Yeah.
Laura's at home watching. Everybody supporting everybody. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times Dan, Laura, Marcus text me during the college football playoffs last year watching my son. And so, that is also a part of this that I've relished in, because when you retire, you miss the locker room. Right. And so being able to build that sort of family, but it is when you do the pivot and, I get an opportunity to bring on Greg Brooks, whose father I grew up with, who had a brain tumor at LSU, and, his life is forever changed. And I get to bring him on the show. And even in his limited capacity now compared to who he was, he gets to tell his story to a world that didn't know it.
And people aren't in your ear saying, we got to go to break.
Right. Right. I think that that's an awesome thing to get to do, because sometimes the stories that we find valuable may not be valuable from a rating standpoint, but they're important to us.
Ryan Clark is here. Our ESPN Radio audience, presented by Progressive Insurance, has just returned. We were just talking about the pivot, and Ryan, your Emmy award-winning work that's been done here over the first few years and your tenure here with ESPN, right here on the Rich Eisen Show from New York City. And you were talking about how the NFL Live show is like a family to you. Last night, I was a co-host for the Stuart Scott Booyah event that went down here last night. $3.1 million were raised in support of the V Foundation and Stuart's foundation within it. And Randy Moss got the first ever
I heard it was
award.
amazing.
Yes, the Inspire Award. And he gave a corker of a speech. He was absolutely brilliant in talking about his experience with cancer and the family that he felt supported him, not just his own life, flesh and blood, but obviously his work family as well. And then talked about how Stuart inspired him as a broadcaster. He was phenomenal.
That's what Dan came in saying the same thing that Greeny said that. And I'm actually sad I missed it. I was able to go to the event last year. Michael Eves, who does an amazing job
on the board. Yeah.
in continuing the work that Stuart started and that his daughters are so passionate about. So I wasn't able to be there last night. I ended up getting in late. I just, when I think of Stuart Scott, and I even got to tell you, the last time we spoke about how inspired I was and how appreciative I was of the way you honored him. on the night you were back on Sports Center. And if you're Randy Moss, if you're Rich Eisen, I mean, if you're, SVP, like Stuart touched us all.
Oh, yeah.
There was an authenticity in who he was that was still so professional, but also so him. And then to watch him battle cancer the way he did, and I don't know how many times I've YouTubed that speech, but also how many times I've YouTubed Jim Valvano's speech or Robin Roberts' speech. I wish I could have seen Randy's, because these are these people that in some way become bigger than life, that also get humbled by it.
Yes.
And don't allow it to kill their spirit. And I think sometimes we get bogged down in the everyday adversities of life that truly most people face, and don't think about what someone else is going through, and to be able to keep that in perspective, man, with what some of these great humans have been able to share with us. I think that is truly a gift from God.
Well, I'm with you, obviously, and that's excellently said right there. And last night was kind of like a Jimmy V speech type night. We laughed, we cried. It was a full day, full night last night. And Randy was great. He was awesome, and it was great to see him. And he looks great, sounds great. His family looked great, and he was spectacular. I've got Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show. The best team in the NFL right now. 4 weeks to go.
Don't do me that, Rich.
I got to.
I believe it's the Los Angeles Rams.
You do.
And I know when you go back 2 weeks and you think to yourself, yeah, but they lost to the Panthers.
Right.
The Panthers also went into Green Bay and got a win. But watching that game and the turnovers by Matthew Stafford, the pick six, the force, the sack fumble late in the game, like, it still shows you how good they are, because they had an opportunity to win. They're the best team, in my opinion, because they have the things I can count on the most. I can count on Matthew Stafford. I can count on the run game of Sean McVay, the two wide receivers on the outside, and Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and a front four that just won't quit, and young playmakers on the second level and the back end that may not be household names, but have made huge plays throughout this season. And so right now, I believe they're the best team. And I can say all of those good things about the Los Angeles Rams, and then you can still ask me and I'd be like, I don't know if they're going to win it.
Well, that's because everything is so wide open, and it does take some of us to wrap our arms around an NFL season being different than the year before, if not the several years before, which is why people are like, yeah, but they lost in Carolina. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Carolina also won in Green Bay. Wait a minute. Carolina has a chance to win its division, and it's still just difficult for a lot of people to wrap their arms around the fact that the Chiefs and the Ravens aren't going to make the playoffs this year unless there's some massive turnaround.
Sort of makes me sick.
What do you mean?
Like, I know, like, the world wants to believe that it's great when, like, all these teams have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Nobody wants that. I don't really want that.
You're talking Chris's language right now.
Am I right, Chris, though?
Well, yes. And I say the same thing about the college football playoff. Like, hey, cool, James Madison, Tulane. Nobody's rooting for you.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
And I'm from New Orleans.
Like, you don't get a seat at the big boy table on Thanksgiving, It's the NFL, I get it, but
it's tough for people to wrap their arms around. Like, think about it. Last year's 15-win teams, the Lions are on the outside looking in. The Chiefs need to win the table and get some help to get in. You got 14-win team in the Vikings. They're not making it. You got a 12-win team in the Washington Commanders. They're not making it. So the number of – and you've got the Ravens that might not make it. You've got a whole bunch of teams that were incredibly successful last year that are either definitely not making or may not make it again this year. And then you look at the Patriots and the Broncos, and you're wondering, are they for real? Can Carolina really – are they really for real? Yeah, it's entirely possible that they are for real, right?
Well, I think – the New England Patriots 100% are for real. Drake Maye's ascension was no surprise to me. In this very studio at the beginning of the season or before the season started, the question was, what story are we not speaking about enough?
Yes.
And I said it's Drake Maye and the possibility of him becoming a superstar. And some of the pushback was he wouldn't have the infrastructure around him from a roster standpoint, that they might have been a year away. But that also didn't take into account what he was physically capable of doing and what the addition of Josh McDaniels could do for a young Drake Maye. When he said, it was something he said during his interview on Monday Night Football. He said, I get to watch Tom Brady do exactly what I'm being asked to do. That he's sitting in a meeting with Josh McDaniels and they're talking about certain play calls, certain decision making. And Josh, think about the cachet that gives you as Josh McDaniels to be able to say, here is what I told Tom and here is what Tom did. How do you refute that in any way as a player? And then what I think back to when Mike Vrabel is running down the sideline with Antonio Gibson in Miami. And I'm like, how freaking cool is that? To be able to look at your coach and know, one, he did this at a very high level.
Yeah.
He also jumped into 2 fights in training camp. Like physically, was bleeding. Goes through the drills with us, has the coaching acumen that you learn when you work with a Bill Belichick for most of your playing career, and the things that you were able to do in Tennessee and be a coach of a year. And like, that's your coach? Man, what they have going on is great. They're for real. I do believe the Denver Broncos are for real. I can be honest. Carolina Panthers, I'm not as sold on them because sometimes they can be so bad.
Right, and they are in the are they arriving on time or ahead of time type conversation right now. I'm with you, and you look at the NFC South, and the Bucs have fallen off a little bit, and maybe you're just lumped into NFC South. Tonight it's Bucs and Falcons this evening, and I'm not saying it's an afterthought. It's a National Football League game involving 2 franchises that really don't like each other. But when you look at the NFC, you're looking at the NFC North. You're looking at the NFC West for sure.
Yes.
And then I kind of proud of myself. I haven't brought up the Eagles to you yet, because it just feels like it's a massive drumbeat about what's going on. And my question for you is, how can something just go for 3 straight weeks on such a talented team? So you can't say it's awry, but you're just saying it's off. There's something off. Yeah. There's something that is not clicking. How does something? And then, the coach is like, we got to get better. The quarterback is like, how do we respond? And it just seems to be unresponsive.
We all seem to be of the appropriate age for this analogy.
Okay.
There may be some people that are too young for it.
Okay.
We are.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
None of us are. You got a DeLorean?
Yeah.
Because if you do, go back to 2023 and ask this exact same team how this happens. The 2023 Eagles were 10-1.
Yep, right.
At one point. And throughout that stretch of going 10-1, we were all sitting on the outside like, something stinks though. You know what I mean? Like, like the food's good right now, but something stinks. And eventually you figure out that there are cracks in the armor, or there are things that won't be fixed. And that sort of seems where we're headed now. And now I'm not predicting that this team doesn't make the playoffs, because I believe in the last 3 of the last 4 games are super winnable. I think it's Commanders twice.
The Commanders twice, and the Raiders this week.
And the Raiders this week.
And a visit to Buffalo is the
that's the one game, right? So you expect them to make the playoffs, but as much as I love Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and also Vic Fangio and what this defense can do, you can't play offense in this manner and win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And to one of your points earlier about the 15-win teams, like, we're sitting at a place where the Jalen Hurts-led Philadelphia Eagles don't look like a Super Bowl caliber team. The Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs are on the outside looking in. The Lamar Jackson-led Baltimore Ravens on the outside looking in, and the Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals are done. That's where we are, and that's why this year does seem so strange, but also is wide open.
What Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show. A few minutes left with him. What is it like to be coached by Mike Tomlin and hear maybe in the community that fans don't want Mike Tomlin to be the coach anymore?
Crazy enough, on social media, one of my favorite people in Pittsburgh, she does security, and she's always done security there. Her name's Chrissy.
Shout out Chrissy.
Yeah, Chrissy's always done security there, and she has cerebral palsy, I believe, and she's like one of my best friends at camp. Just awesome, young lady. And she messaged me, and she's like, I miss the old days. The days when you would stay out and sign autographs for people until they left, and you don't have that connection anymore. And she asked me, she's like, I wonder, do the fans or the fans screaming in that manner for Coach Tomlin to be fired, do you have to listen to him? Mm-hmm. And my answer to that was unequivocally, no, you don't. Like, fans are important to the game. We play the game and for their enjoyment, and we love to share in winning with them. Mm-hmm. But fans are called fans because they're fanatics. People who know football know that you shouldn't be calling for Mike Tomlin's job. Now, I also understand from the standpoint of team building where you have to be in the decision-making process with Mike Tomlin, because for the last 10 years you've been in Super Bowl purgatory. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are never supposed to be in Super Bowl purgatory. Mm-hmm. The Pittsburgh Steelers are supposed to be competing for championships, and this team can't, and this team won't. So where do you go from here when you've invested in your defense that much? And I said this a year ago, and I was called by someone in the organization that said the reasonings I had about what's going on in the locker room were fair, but they disagreed with the point. I felt like Mike Tomlin should have a conversation about have his Andy Reid second run somewhere else. To be able to say, hey, look, I feel like what we've done here has been special. I'm forever indebted to this organization. Where we are right now, when we talk about the standard being the standard, isn't the standard for either of us, and maybe a new voice is needed. Maybe you need to be able to be as bad as you could possibly be to rebuild, or maybe there's another voice that could get you over the hump, because right now it doesn't seem that his style of coaching, his way of coaching, and his voice is the one to get you to another championship, and you may have to part ways in that way. But I've said it before, I'll say it again here on Rich Eisen Show. I believe that Mike Tomlin is unfireable in Pittsburgh. That doesn't mean he should be there forever.
So let me follow up by asking you this, because you know him better than I would. I mean, I've interviewed him. I've had moments with him off camera. And I've interviewed him also prior to games. And I'll share it as well. He was kind enough when my father passed away in 2019, and I talked about it on the air. He sent me a note.
Awesome.
So that's all I know of him personally. You know him better. Mm-hmm. What would it take for him to actually endeavor that thought process, though? When would he go through that, do you think?
And I can't speak for him. In
Right.
my estimation, he wouldn't, because the one thing he always stressed to me is that he'll never run from coaching. This team still needs to be coached. This team still needs to be led. And the way I internalize that or comprehend that when he says that he won't run from coaching, he knows people do sometimes, is that he would feel like he's running from the adversity that he's possibly had a hand in creating. Mm-hmm. Right? It's his decision-making on the players, his decision-making on the coaches, his decision-making on what he feels like is the best way to approach winning. And so when you've had a hand in all of those things and those things aren't working, to leave and say maybe somebody else will be better, or maybe there's a better place to me, would feel like I'm running from the adversity that I've created myself, that I need to help this team and these people find a solution from, which is a fair way to look at it and an honorable way to look at it. But people who truly know football know that it's not always a fair and honorable occupation.
Well, and my goodness, I've just received in my ear right now, and I'm looking on my phone, Mike Tomlin is going to be giving an update on T.J. Watt. Have you heard about this?
No.
He's currently in a local hospital for further medical evaluation of his lung. After experiencing discomfort at the practice facility Wednesday, he will not be at practice Thursday. His status for Monday's game in Miami is in question. That's from Bert Lawton, who you know very well. Yeah. I mean, my goodness gracious. I don't even know what that would mean, or I'm just throwing that out there since that is breaking news in regards to Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think the first thing is, you pray that TJ's okay.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the first thing
important.
that's the first thing that comes to my mind, because Like, we're not talking about a shoulder. You're not talking about
that's something that doesn't have a cast. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not, or a crutch. Right.
And what I can say about the Steelers organization, about their head coach, is being someone who had an injury that was unlike most football injuries. Mike Tomlin and that organization are going to put TJ Watt's health first. It's not going to be about winning football games and getting him back on the field for Monday. It's going to be about the quality of life that he could live for his family. And I know that. Now you get to the football field. Obviously, TJ Watt is extremely important to this team.
You bet.
You're playing a football team in the Miami Dolphins that can absolutely run the skin off of the football right now. And he's going to be a huge part of being able to withstand that from a defensive standpoint. And for a team that's trying to continue a run to win the AFC North, like, this is a devastating blow to those chances.
Well, listen, Ryan, I always appreciate you coming on the show. It's great to have you here in person. I'll just throw it out there again. I'm a fan of your pod.
Man, thank you.
And Pivot, I know I saw you had Joe Buck on.
I was just about to say, hey, you're always welcome to come on.
I'm happy to
How about this?
For you, with you, whatever you'd like.
How about we do this?
Okay.
Because I think it's all, I always love to watch you run the 40.
Okay.
I think we should do a show around the combine to not only talk about your career and who you are in your life, but to also give you an opportunity to say why that's so important to you as well.
I would love to do that, obviously, because, it's a fundraiser, but there's no physical requirement, right, to show up on this front. Like, you're not going to make
you run there?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
You should, though. He needs help.
Ready.
Okay.
No, I think the best part about it is, and I love the logo you guys have, is how bad his form actually is.
Well,
if he showed up, Dorsey flexed, high knee, driving through the ground, I wouldn't even want to watch it.
Yeah, what's the point?
Well, I'll share this story with you then, since you brought that up. As you could see the logo that's right there. This logo was created by the DirecTV team that helped birth the show, that created the program. And I'll never forget the moment where Chris Long, our rabbi basically for this program, he showed me the logo. He's like, "What do you think about this idea?" I didn't even think about using my 40-yard dash as a logo. And it was a perfect silhouette of my running style, which meant the right leg was flared all the way out beyond my right hand that you see right there. Everything else is as is, but that right leg, I'm like, can we move that in under my body to make it a more athletic stance? And I watched the computer-generated machine move it under there. I'm like, right there, that's it.
Actual.
So that's a true story about this logo. It's perfect with the exception of the right leg.
That is amazing.
Might have been brought in maybe a little bit too far, but it's still right there.
No, I love it.
Yeah, and
That's an awesome story.
Come on, I'm happy to come on and whatever I can do, and I appreciate you doing what you do,
Brother,
Ryan Clark.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, right there.
Thank you guys.
Ryan Clark, right here on the Rich Eisen Show.